It's very special to have a new beginning here in Newbold, part of the broad Finland community. And Newbold is a wonderful name, and so newly and boldly we represent here psychophonetics and methodical empathy. I introduced some of it yesterday, but I will just touch it again today. And for the duration of my introduction, it'll be filmed and then it'll be just us, okay? So, I want to introduce to you very shortly the possibility that in the same way that the trees grow and children grow, we also grow. We individually and we as humanity. And at this point in time, I think we are right in the middle of a transition for the last 50 years, which is not a long time, of creating a new kind of intelligence. We all know about IQ, which is intellectual quotient. We know about NQ, which is emotional intelligence. And I want to introduce to you MQ, EMQ, empathic intelligence, which is really a new dimension of intelligence that didn't have before, and we don't have the foundation for organically. This is evolution, and yet it's evolution that can only happen consciously. So here is a responsibility. Imagine evolution is in our hands. This morning, we're on the cutting edge, alongside a few million other people. And if we don't do evolution doesn't happen. And so empathy, as I mentioned yesterday, is something completely new. And it only was mentioned 60 years ago, and it's not in the dictionaries before, and we are doing it now. It's just a word. It's a word that was invented not long ago. What is it standing for? It stands for the intelligence required to move from looking at the world and at you, from my point of view, to looking at the world and at you from your own point of view. It sounds very simple. It sounds essential. It's something we all want to hear, that we have been. It's something we consider ourselves to be. And yet, we are babies in empathy. It's just beginning in empathy. It takes hundreds of years to achieve empathy, but only if we lay the foundation now. But because it has been around for a while, then I think we are empathetic. Okay, we are to a certain extent, but to a certain extent we have delusions about it. And I want to introduce to you the possibility of doing this bridging consciously and what it takes to do it practically. Namely, to really understand somebody from the inside. And it is measured only in one way. If I understand you truly, it is measured by you feeling understood. This is not a measurement. I cannot say I've been very empathetic, unfortunately you didn't get it. That's not washing at all. This is a new level of consciousness. It is really the I that is we. And if you don't feel that I understood you, then I did not understood you. End of the story. It's either the thing is growing or it's not growing. And there's no other measure. And even by saying that, I give the power for my achievement in empathy to you. Have I made it or not? Because it's not how clever I am and clean analyzing you. It's about, do I get you from your own point of view? And you know what it does? If people feel understood from their own point of view, the whole system goes into peace. The blood vessels relax, the blood pressure goes down, the heart is calming, the circulation is better. You can measure empathy in all the 7 life parameters, because when we are babies, if mama understands me, I will survive. And if she will not, I will not survive. So the safest thing in the world is not another brick wall. The safest thing in the world is to be understood. Somehow get it. That if we are understood, we will survive. Because people are basically good, I think. We all know that. But they don't get us. And it's not the same as sympathy. And it's not the same as love. And it's not the same as compassion. All of them are preparation for this. It's certainly not the same as sympathy. It is an organ of perception. Do I see you from my own point of view? And do you feel that I see you from your own point of view, or do I not? And we all appraise ourselves about being empathetic or not. And I'm introducing empathy on the way to introducing psychophonetics, because that's what it came to serve. A future of humanity, the future of us as community, the future of us as families, the future of us as inhabitants of this blessed earth, has to do with, can we understand beings from their own point of view, or shall we just keep projecting our unconscious self on everybody? So we've been around since 1951, so this is the illusion about empathy, but honest striving. And this is the reality of empathy. And it makes a big difference to move from illusion to reality. And I think we all experience people who are convinced that they understand us when we don't feel understood. That's illusion. It can be a very clever illusion. It can be a very qualified illusion, but it's not happening until you breathe differently, until you expand, until you feel at home in humanity again. So we can have illusions about it. Intellectualizing empathy, analyzing as empathy, projecting as empathy, manipulating as empathy. These are all illusions, all right? And then there's a reality, and I think we've all experienced that too. I'm not claiming that I invented it, all right? I was born, it was already there, but as a baby. We had moments when we changed drastically because somebody got me. Somebody really understood me. Yeah. And it made a whole difference. Maybe you fell in love with that person because for the first time somebody understood you. We all had moments when we felt great because we achieved it, because we moved from conflict into community. And so we are here, and it is real, but it's very young. And what makes the difference? And the difference between the illusion of understanding somebody to the reality of understanding somebody, and as I said, you can measure it, you can check it out. The threshold that makes a difference is self-empathy. Self-empathy. Because in the act of regarding myself as an example of humanity, as representative of humanity, some people don't think they're part of humanity, but if I do accept that I am a part of humanity, I represent it to a certain extent, and if I develop self-empathy, then a new consciousness dawns on me. That's what I want to call caution, empathic empathy. And that goes to everybody. I can develop it with you, and next I can apply it to somebody else. I can develop it at home and apply it at work. I can develop it at work and apply it at home. And then I look into the garden, and every bush speaks to me. Because empathy is empathy. It's a kind of fitness. The difference between illusion of empathy and reality of empathy is self-empathy. And that's not a mean feat. For how on earth would I get perspective on myself when all I see is the outer world? I'm born with 12 senses for the observation of the outer world. I'm not born with any sense for the observation of myself, as I explained yesterday, apart from the ability to sense my own organism. I know when I'm in pain, I know when I'm in pleasure, I know when I'm tired, I know when I'm fresh. How do I know that? We can sense the organism. You can call it sense of life, you can call it sense of homeostasis. I know when I'm okay and when I'm not okay. That sense we can take further. And in Psychophonetics, we have transformed the sense of life into a sense of soul. And that's where what I want to share with you today. It's okay now? Yeah.
I see other people.
Okay.
You're quite
This would be
difficult to understand. You speak very, very
I
fast.
can speak
Yes.
very slowly and very clearly.
Yes, I'm hearing from
Don't let me speak in any other way. And if I drop into my very intimate counseling voice, you just tell me that I am not in a personal counseling. I can speak clearly, actually, it's just laziness, so don't let me get away. I want to tell you very briefly how we do self-empathy. But it's not about self-absorption and self-obsession and about the great community of me, myself, and I, which you can fit in a telephone box. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about empathy with myself as a pathway, as a bridge, as qualification for empathy with other beings. And so it is different if I just do it for myself or if I do it as human evolution to be more relevant, more effective, more practical to anybody else. There is something between objective and subjective. There is something which is both. There is something which is me as you and me as world. And so here is something about what do we do for practical empathy with myself as preparation for empathy with others. And sometimes empathy with others is preparation for further empathy with myself. It doesn't matter where it starts, you understand? The challenge of conflict, the challenge of a block in communication, the challenge from not being able to understand you can become just the indication of the next level of awareness with myself. So I'm not saying it goes one way. It all happened at the same time. That's what we need community for. Am I speaking clearly now? Can you get it now? Okay.
We can hear you, but we don't know what you mean.
Oh well, that's what we have the rest of the day for. I'm doing it during camera. Okay, friends, this is a human soul, and this is a human eye inside of the soul, and we are plonked into our soul, looking out like a golden fish in a green water aquarium. There's a golden fish in the green aquarium is looking outside, everything is green. If you change the water to blue, everything is blue. Imagine that we are a golden fish in a soul aquarium, and we look at the world through that aquarium, and we don't even know we're in it. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, now you walk around with this aquarium. You know, you can't get rid of it. You walk around everywhere like this light. You don't see the light other than through the light shade. We are the shade. A cloud exists between me and everything else. A cloud exists between me and everything else in the world, including myself. A cloud exists. I live in a certain cloud. And the only way out of this cloud is to see the cloud. Between me and you, a cloud is separating, and I will project it. Between me and my cloud, nothing separates. I can observe my cloud directly and intimately, but I cannot do it without perspective. So, the question is how to create perspective. And I'm not supposed to give a lecture. I've done it last night. I'll do it shortly, and then we will move to do it. But I want you to have a sense of what I'm offering, and so there's a connection between experience and cognition, so I'm not just doing it for the camera. In the soul, the eye lives, and a lot of it is covered by the unconsciousness of the body. And all the memories are in the body. And all the life processes are in the body. And the potential connection to nature and to other people intimately is in the body too. And in the body is intelligence that our little IQ cannot even dream about. So how do we get there? So suppose there's some block somewhere in my soul, and it is affecting me, and it is coloring my perception. How do I explore that when I don't have any perspective? Here comes psychophonetics. I want to see you and hear you and know you, but I don't have the organs to do it with. And you want the same. I have to develop 3 levels of awareness that are potential in everyone, really below the surface in everyone. Imaginative perception. I can see you beyond the surface. Inspirative conception. I can hear you in the depths of my soul. Intuitive conception, perception. I can be you for a moment. I can become that if I practice it on myself. And I can practice it on myself. And in that point of view, to take care of oneself, to be aware of oneself, to go deeper into oneself, to heal oneself is actually a social duty. The gap between I do it for me or I do it for you is over here. I do it for me, and then I can do it for you or encourage you to do it for you. I want to move beyond this dichotomy of me and you and subjective and objective and selfish and altruistic. No, I'm a part of it, and I need to do it for myself on a way to be the best member of the community I can be. So we created out of initiatory theater 4 modes of communication, enabling me to have perspective about myself. And that's what I want to use the rest of the day to demonstrate in a variety of ways. 1, as I said before, I don't know what's going on there, but something is painful inside of me. Something is blocking inside of me. Something is crying inside of me. And it doesn't speak English. Well, nobody speaks English in the first year of one's life. And that never stops. We are still 1-year-old. We are still 2-year-old, 3-year-old. We are still all the ages, like a pine tree, all the rings at the same time. So how do I connect to it? Well, I can sense it. Every emotion, every memory, every experience we've ever been through, including embryonic and birth, sometimes even conception, including everything and sometimes even before this life, all lives somewhere in the body, but not physically, energetically. And we cannot all see it, some people can, but we can all sense it for ourselves. Sensing the body can become sensing the soul. That's what I'd like to show you today. You can sense your soul. I cannot give you the motivation to do so, but if you want to, you can sense everything that happens in your soul. Like you sense touch and smell and sight, you can sense the self, because the soul imprints itself on the body, and we can catch the footprints. That's number one. Then we can gesture it. 10 fingers created our whole human civilization. 10 fingers created Finhong. And with these 10 fingers, we can express everything that happens inside spontaneously and consciously at the same time. That's very powerful. It's not conventional gesture, it's not instructed gesture, it's not just functional gesture, it is expressive gesture which creates another consciousness. For a moment, me and my body are the same, and we talk to each other. Then, that creates a new kind of visualization. If I do something and I get out of it, I can see in my imagination where I was. And then the doubt comes and says, there's nothing there. And there's another voice says, no, there's nothing physically there, but I have been there and I can see it. Activating imaginative perception, not fantasy, imaginative perception. A perception of a reality that you have to be active to perceive, not passive. Then we move into the sounds. The sounds of human speech, the universal alphabet. Both in Kabbalah and in anthroposophy, is a map for the human life body. There is a life body. Or at least it's a possibility. Doesn't matter what you call it, chi, pranic body, morphogenetic fields. There is a life body, and this life body is where all the memory is. Not just my memory, but the memory of the species, the memory of the earth, the memory of all the past. It all lives in the life body. But also seeds for the future live in the life body. As we can see, it all sprouting now and blossoming, but where does it come from? There is a life body transforming earthly materials and all the life processes of breathing, warming, secretion, maintenance, growth, reproduction. It's all living in this operating system, if you wish, on the fourth dimension. It is made of sounds. It is made of the sounds of human speech, which we can only speak one at a time. But the planetary system speaks vowels. Venus speaks ah, and Saturn speaks ooh, and Jupiter speaks oh, and Mars speaks eh, and the moon speaks I, and the sun speaks ow. And we have been created by them. And our physical body is created by cosmic forces that are echoing the human speech. Scorpion created and Sagittarius and the waterman and Virgo b and p and Leo d and t. We have been created by these forces, and then they gave us a larynx, which is the future birth organ for humanity, and we speak one sound at a time and create human language, which creates human culture, which creates human writing, which creates civilization. Take it out, and we are not human. So, that's the fourth element of psychophonetics, and that's its name. We can find a sound combination for every human experience once you express it in gesture. Which means, you can find the sound that destroys you and turn it around and release it. You can find the sound that heal you and restore you, as we demonstrated last night, and enhance it and give it to you as a tool for self-healing. They say in ancient Talmudic Hebrew, Chayim v'mavet beyad halashon. It means life and death in the hand of the tongue. and also Sfat Em, mother tongue. Because the mother nurtures us, not only with the milk, but also with the sound, with the words. So, we want to give this possibility back to us. This combination of empathic conversation in which we truly strive to understand people from inside, together with midwifing from the person a wish, for we don't give people direction in life, we serve it, but they have to tell us what they want. And then moving into taking a piece of life from recent time and reactivating its intelligence with a combination of sensing, gesture, visualization and sounds. This is psychophonetics. And enable us to know whatever we want to know about yourself, to overcome what indigested experiences you have, and we are full of them, to resource, which is to invoke potential powers, which are ours, but potential, and make them into reality, and to join this healing process that happens 24 hours a day without our consciousness, like we don't do the garden unconsciously. We join nature to do the garden. We can join nature to do us and to heal us. And then we can do it for others. That's psychophonetics. That's my introduction. Okay? And now it's time to do it. All right, so suppose I have a stomach crunch or tightness, which doesn't enable me to breathe very deeply just before I'm giving you a talk, and I talk like this. Suppose I'm tight, and I don't know why, and I haven't done it, and I don't know how to get out of it. And I say, I want to be free. I want to be free of that. What do I do? First, I have to state what I want. I want to be free of that. Because it doesn't enable me to breathe deeply and be myself.
That's your wish.
That's a wish. And then I say, okay, let's see what's going on. Let's check it out. My mind cannot get there, but my hands can. So I feel it. I sense it. And that's already waking up. I sense it. With the same way that I sense my stomach anyway. If I can know, if I'm hungry, I can also know that. And then I take my two hands and do it. And I didn't know before it looked like that, but now I do. Suddenly, something that was behind me is in front of me. I can also do it with my whole body. And then my body is telling me something that my mind cannot. I listen. And I get out of it. And the beauty of doing it consciously is that I can also undo it. If I get in consciously, I know how I got in, I can get out. Normally I just fall into it. And then I look at him and I see this poor guy with tight stomach. And I see his nerve system is tightening him because something is frightened. And I say, why is he frightened? And I look beyond that and I can see some threat that is looking like that. From a few directions. Who the hell is that? And I realize, it's me. I'm not so impressed by myself 24 hours a day. I actually have some judgment in me that says, you are not doing what you were supposed to do. I didn't know that. So I'm getting out of this too. I see this critique, this bastard of a critique that is all the time telling me there's something wrong with me. And then I say, who shaped that? And I look beyond that and I see few other figures in my life that invested a lot in doing this to me, which is completely normal. I'm not being sorry for myself. This is just what happened. We are a critical society. And I can see that I took it in and I applied it to myself. And some there in my stomach, there lives somebody who is a bit like what? I don't know. So I'm going back in there. And I become my stomach. And I see somebody that is like that. Because the world is not as safe as it was promised by God. And I look at him and he looks to me something between 2 and 4 and it brings the whole scene up and just normal feeling alone for some reason, and at that moment nobody's with him and it's not rocket science to see what he needs, and I find it in me and I come and I do what a man can do when a child is suffering. You know, we're all fathers, we're all mothers. And I just do some care. And I tell him that he doesn't have to be giving a lecture in Newbold today, you know, because 2-year-olds don't normally do it in Newbold, do you? I'll just take care of it and say, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. And then I, Yehuda, that can say, it'll be all right. She'll be okay. I who can say that can lecture to you without cramp in my stomach. Does this make sense?
Thank you.
The day before yesterday, last bit of story, the day before yesterday, I rang my son in Cape Town, who was going to a national competition of fencing under 15. And I said, how are you doing? And he said, I'm not so happy with myself. I said, what's the problem? He says, there's this voice telling me that I cannot do this and I'm not good enough as them because I'm only practicing for a year and they're practicing for 5 years. And it's noisy and I don't know that I will do my best. So what do you want? He said, I want to be free of this hesitation and just be there fighting them properly. All right. You know, you don't kill anybody in fencing. It's just, it's a formed, it's martial art.
That was his wish.
That was his wish. His wish was to be free of this voice of hesitation. So, on the phone, I took him to a psychophonetics session and said, I know you don't want to do it. I know it's not pleasant, but get it for a moment. And become the one, his name is Uriel, not Uriel, but Uriel. Become the Uriel that is hesitating, that is not sure, that wants to run away. Become it completely. Okay, he's on the telephone and he's becoming it completely. And you can see, you know, like that. Say, you got it? I got it. Right. Make it worse. Oh. Get completely out of it and he's holding the telephone in his hand. Can you see him? Yes, I see him. What do you feel? I hate him. I want to get out of the room, you know. I don't want to be this one. I said, all right. That's not going to help, is it? Get out of it. Third position. Turn around. Who says I hate him? Says, oh, it's a critique, Uriel. Always telling me I'm not good enough. And some of it is my fault, because sometimes I'm telling him something is wrong. So look at him. Look at him. Just look at him. Leave him there. Okay. And then turn to this hesitating Uriel that is not up to it. And look at him. And he was starting to be critical again and said, try just to take care of him. Like you're a bigger brother to the one that is hesitating. All right, he said, standing here. All right, he says. All right. Okay, you can be there. I said, do you want him to do fencing competition on a national level in South Africa? I said, he cannot do this. Well, tell him he doesn't have to do it. He relieved him on his duty. Say, okay, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it, he says. Who will do it? I will do it. All right. Your opponent is right behind you. When you're ready, turn around. Took a few seconds. Turn around and faced his opponent in fencing. So this was applied telephone psychophonetics conversation. Does that make sense? He did the competition. He didn't get, again, the silver medal that he got last time. But we told him in advance that we are proud of him anyway. And he's rehearsing for a bigger one later. So I'm just telling you, I can even do it on telephone. But he did it before without the telephone, so he could do it. Does this make it clear?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, something like that I'd like to do with you today.